Saint Therese, one of the themes that I noticed in the story of a soul is she is incredibly bold in her prayer. This occurs like pretty early on in this in her autobiography. She's telling about I don't know the name of the Italian prisoner who had committed several, I think it was like
Murders.
it can't have been needless murders. That can't have been the adjective she used, considering we're describing murder. So it can't have been needless, you know. But it was something like that, you know. Uh,
Senseless,
and-
horrific, violent.
yeah, you know, something probably way worse
Yeah.
than needless.
Utterly incomprehensible. Things like that.
yeah, things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, insofar as we
And-
try to understand the mind of a serial killer. Right.
Listen, man, my
Right.
hat's on backwards today. Okay, we're going a little bit more lax.
Wow.
It's the summer. Okay,
Look at you go. Just showing
yeah.
how hip and cool you are. I mean,
that's right.
not all
that's
of us
right.
can be you, Matt.
Not all. No, no, and most of you shouldn't want to be. But but so she's talking about praying boldly. How she prayed boldly for the conversion of this sinner, this murderer, right? Who had publicly refused to repent of his deeds, right? Like had met with priests and refused to go to confession. And she says, like, I prayed knowing, like 100%, like knowing God will bring about the conversion of this man. I just asked in this instance for a sign. Only this one time I wanted a sign. And like she's like, I mean, she's called the little flower for a reason, right? She uses like pretty flowery language. She's very romantic. She's like,
Yep.
and he provided for me, and that the man was going to, I'm not exactly certain how he was given capital punishment. But as he's walking towards it, he turns around suddenly as if moved by a moment of grace and kisses the 3 wounds, or I guess the 5 wounds, right? But the 3 places, the hands, the feet, and the side of Christ 3 times, you know, and how that was, she was focusing on the wounds of Christ in her prayer and et cetera, right? And so she's praying with this like incredible boldness and seemingly knowledge. You know, like she's praying almost the way a prophet would say something. And so I guess my question is, how does one pray so boldly? And what do you do when your prayers aren't answered?
So simple questions, really, is what you're asking for.
Yeah,
No, that's
yeah.
good. That's good.
Yeah, I said it's the summer. We're being relaxed today.
Yeah. Oh,
okay?
yes. So relaxed.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes.
Well, I mean, just to go back to Saint Therese here, and part of her story, she has learned over time to ask for things, and part of when you're reading the story of a soul, like notice how she learns something and then sort of experiments with it. All right, so she's been taught at a certain point. She writes about like going to the convent for her retreat before her first communion.
Yes.
And the experience of being able to stay at the convent and to pray with the sisters. And in the context of learning about what she needs to do to be prepared for First Communion, she hears things like, you can ask Jesus for anything. As a little girl growing up at home, she's learning these things, and now in the context of seeing this man who's about to be executed for murder, she's moved to pray for him and to pray for his conversion, even though the fact that he is unrepentant has already been widely reported. So she knows that he's not repentant, that he's not sorry for what he's done. And she knows also that to ask this would seem to fly in the face of all the available evidence. But she's also very convicted of this idea that you can pray for anything. You can ask God for anything, and God might do it. And that's what leads her to that prayer, to pray for his conversion, to pray for his repentance, and to pray that God would give him that grace. And so she prays with this. It is really and truly an amazing sort of a confidence. But part of what she's doing is, and I don't mean this in a negative way. This is not a criticism. Saint Therese is better than me. She's holier than me. She's already in heaven, and I am not. And
All of those things are true, Father Sam.
Yeah, I don't hold a candle to her spiritually. Let's be real honest here, okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
But what she's
there are
doing,
very few doctors of the church, Father Sam. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm not one of them. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But what we see, she's testing it. This thing that has been proposed to her. Ask God for whatever it is that you want. She's testing to find out, does it work? What happens? Now, she's not testing in the sense of like I want to figure God out and I'm just going to see if God will actually answer in some sort of like manipulation of God. It's a very genuine, very sincere, very authentic way of saying, I know that Jesus invites us to ask, and I'm going to trust then that I'm
Yeah.
actually allowed to ask. There's another book that you might want to read.
Okay.
You probably won't be able to before you have to turn in this paper. Does the
I got
paper
3
have?
weeks, so
Oh, okay. Well, does the
yeah, I
paper,
got three
by the
weeks.
way, does it have like a specific question that you're supposed to be answering?
So the topic of the paper is the synthesis of the tenets of spiritual theology with the particular like spiritual life of a saint or
Hmm.
mystic or doctor. I chose Saint Therese off of the suggestion of my pastor, who I think knows me and knows that I would just benefit from studying Saint Therese. And then, so specifically, like these tenets would be like at least. So I haven't gotten to the outlining portion of this paper, right? I'm still kind of just doing my research.
Yeah.
My intention was to see how, because like we'll get to it, but one of the elements for spirituality is definitely sacrifice.
Hmm.
So like, how do you mesh the idea of objective salvation versus subjective salvation, and how we can unite our suffering to the cross and therefore merit the pouring forth of God's graces that he won on the cross for others with Saint Therese's life. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
like things like that. So like maybe
Yeah.
supernatural merit, or like I said, subjective redemption, or insert any of these other things there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sorry if that was a mouthful. I
No,
don't
that's
even know if I kind of answered your question.
yeah. No, that's cool to just understand, and also that you've got 3 weeks before the papers
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
due.
yeah, yeah,
By the
yeah,
time
yeah.
this airs, it'll be 2 weeks.
I
So
gotta be honest with you, man.
for our
That's like
listeners.
that's way more than I usually give myself.
Yeah. Well, so this other book that I'm thinking of that you might really like is called The Context of Holiness. It's by Father
Okay.
Mark Foley.
Okay.
He's a Carmelite priest, and he kind of breaks down some of the stuff that's going on in the life of Therese. It's Mark with a
Cool.
C, not with a K.
Yeah,
But
noted. I already got it here.
sweet. Get yourself a copy. He's able to get into a lot of the stuff that's happening within Therese, like in her
Yeah.
growing up, and the reality, like when you look at her parents are a very interesting case, right?
Yeah,
her
certainly.
mom deals with tremendous anxiety and scrupulosity and things, and
And also, she passes away
and she dies
very,
when Therese is very young.
very
Exactly.
young.
So there's all these things that kind of form how Therese related with her family, so that she's in a certain way, like you read that part of her autobiography where she's talking about almost being stunted in her emotional growth. She doesn't quite use that language, but she's recognizing that she stayed very very innocent, very simple about things until like quite a bit after you would have expected a child who's lost a parent already to still be very
Yeah.
simple and very innocent. And she
Yeah.
overhears a conversation between one of her older sisters and her father, kind of talking about like, how much longer are we going to do this, where she
Yes.
gets to be like the baby of the family when
Right,
she's like
right.
10 years old or 12 years old or something like that. She's
Yeah,
she's way too
specifically,
old
it's
for this.
the gifts in the shoes for Saint Nicholas.
Yeah. I don't remember how old she is at that point, but whatever age it is, they're like, she's too old to still be playing this way. We've got to do something. And she
Yeah.
overheard it. But she makes
Yeah.
this resolution interiorly. I'm not going to take away from them. I'm still going to I still want to be myself. And so she writes about I pretended. Like I pretended like I was so surprised and overjoyed. And what she was also doing though, she was observing, and she noticed that her father was still delighting in her joy. That even though he wanted her to grow up, even though he wanted this thing for her, he could still be with her. And that taught her something about God. That even when we are immature in our faith, or even when we're petulant little children about things, which sometimes we have a habit of being, right? Like sometimes I'm kind of a jerk when I come to God about something, or I'm a baby when I come to God about something. I'm like, I want it now. And,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
God's like, all right, I see when I love you in that, and I love you even though you're being very immature, and God can even delight in our lack of knowledge and our immaturity. There's a beauty there. So what you're seeing is that Therese is she's being invited into this like go ahead and be silly. Go ahead and be immature. But she also realizes that her father loves her in spite of all of that. Well, now apply that principle. All right, I know that I can be who I am, and my father will still love me. This is her earthly father, but she can apply that to God.
Sure.
And then she hears all these stories. Trust God. Ask for anything that you might need. And she realizes that God will allow us to ask for whatever it is that we might need, no matter what. We can freely approach the Lord. And so she says, if I was willing to do something because I know that my father still, on the one hand, wanted me to be a child, on the other hand, wanted me to grow up, but he was still able to delight in me, and I could see him loving me in spite of all of that. Why wouldn't I do the same thing with God? Why wouldn't I approach God with that utter confidence? So she kind of makes the logical conclusion, this is the right thing to do. This is the right way to go.
Thanks for watching today's video. Let us know what you thought down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.